Sorahan's hand was still extended when Kang Dohan walked past her. He passed the first model, then the next, then every woman beneath the runway lights. Cameras turned with him in stunned silence. Amina Kendi stood beside the service exit with sewing pins around her wrist, certain he was heading for someone behind her. Dohan stopped directly in front of Amina and looked at the champagne gown. "Take it off, Sora," he said. Amina is replacing her. The ballroom seemed to forget how to breathe. Sora's fingers remained suspended, but her smile had vanished. Mina Park hurried from the runway and called Amina a temporary seamstress who entered through the service corridor. Dohan never looked at Mina. His eyes stayed on Amina across the room. Then he addressed her by her full name. Amina's stomach tightened. She had never met this man, yet he spoke as though he had been expecting her. Amina did not step toward the runway. She lifted her chin and told Dohan she would not model a stolen version of her own work because he had finally decided to notice her. A murmur rolled through the guests around the runway. Sora's humiliation sharpened into fury. Dohan studied Amina without blinking, as though her refusal confirmed something. Then she saw the thin line of blood beneath his left cuff. Someone had hurt him before he entered, and he was pretending nothing had happened. A red point of light slid across Amina's blouse. Dohan's expression changed first. He caught her arm, pulled her behind him, and turned between her and the upper balcony. Amina barely had time to protest before the chandelier above the runway burst. Crystal and metal crashed where she had been standing. Guests screamed and scattered between overturned velvet chairs. Dohan stayed over her until the last fragment struck the marble, his breathing controlled while her heart hammered against her ribs. Jun Lee's security team sealed every door. Within seconds, the ballroom became a glittering cage filled with frightened guests and broken glass everywhere. Amina shoved Dohan's arm away and demanded to know why anyone would aim at her. He glanced toward the balcony, then at the red mark fading from her clothing. "They were aiming at me," he said. "Then I chose you." The words landed harder than the explosion. His public attention had turned her into a target. Sora accused Amina of arranging the attack to steal the spotlight. Mina ordered security to search Amina's shoulder bag. Inside, they found an original sketch of the centerpiece gown marked with a spiral emblem. Amina recognized her own lines, but she had not placed it there. Dohan took the page, and all warmth immediately left his face completely. Amina said her late guardian, Asha Kendi, taught her the symbol as a child. Dohan whispered, "My mother died because of this mark." The doors were locked, the surveillance feeds were failing, and someone inside Dohan's organization had opened the building to an attacker. Before this dangerous night goes any further, subscribe to Afro Korean Soulmates TV. Every subscription tells us these carefully built stories are reaching the people they were created for, and it helps us keep bringing you premium Afro-Korean romance, danger, and betrayal. Stay close, because the next discovery changes who Amina believes the real threat is. Amina's phone vibrated with a video from an unknown number. The recording showed Dohan meeting Mina 3 months earlier. His voice was painfully clear and unmistakable. "Remove Amina Kendi from the campaign. Replace her with Sora Han. Make certain she never learns the order came from me." Amina watched twice, hoping the second viewing would change his face or words. It did not. The man who had just restored her place publicly was the same man who secretly took it away. The emergency lights died before Dohan could explain. When they returned, Lena Sefu was gone. Her pearl bracelet lay broken beside the service door, one bead smeared with blood. A message demanded Dohan surrender Amina if he wanted Lena alive. Amina grabbed a shard of fallen crystal and held it near Dohan's throat. He did not retreat even one step. "Open the doors," she ordered. Dohan leaned closer. "They do not want you dead. They need you alive for something worse." Dohan moved Amina to the executive security suite above the ballroom while June searched for Lena. The room overlooked the chaos through smoked glass, but Amina refused to sit or lower her guard. Dohan removed his jacket, revealing a cut along his forearm and blood darkening his cuff. The wound had been made before he entered. Amina asked who attacked him. Dohan said a security employee tried to stop him after he discovered someone had copied June's access credentials. Amina pushed the medical kit toward Dohan but refused to touch it. "You can bleed and explain at the same time." His mouth almost moved into a smile, which only made her much angrier. She demanded to know how he knew her name, why he recognized the spiral, and why he ordered Mina to destroy her opportunity. Dohan cleaned the cut without once looking away. "Victor Ryu began searching for you 3 months ago," he said. "Men like Victor do not search for people to offer them work." Dohan opened a secure file filled with photographs of Amina leaving her apartment, entering fabric markets, and meeting Lena after work each evening. The sight turned her skin cold. He had watched her life from a distance while she fought to pay bills and wondered why the campaign abandoned her. Dohan said his investigators traced the spiral to documents left by his mother before her disappearance 18 years earlier. Amina asked whether he planned to tell her. He answered, "Only when knowing became safer than ignorance." Amina laughed once, without humor. "You decided what I was allowed to know, then called it safety." Dohan accepted the accusation without defending himself. He admitted ordering Mina to remove Amina quietly, compensate her, and erase the spiral from the gown. Mina obeyed only the first instruction. She stole Amina's design, kept the compensation, and preserved the emblem inside the embroidery. Dohan discovered the theft shortly before entering. By then, Victor's people already knew Amina was inside. Dohan explained that public selection gave him a visible reason to place Amina under direct protection. It also forced the traitor inside his organization to react before his people could hide. He expected a stolen file, a disabled camera, perhaps an attempted escape. He had not expected the chandelier or Lena's disappearance. Amina stared until the truth arranged itself into something uglier. He had hidden her to protect her, then exposed her to flush out his enemy. "You used me as bait," she said. Dohan did not insult her with a denial. Yes. The answer struck harder because it came without hesitation. He said he calculated the risk and believed his security could contain it. Amina stepped closer, anger heating her face. Protection without consent is control. A locked door does not become kindness because the person holding the key claims to care. Dohan's jaw tightened, but he did not order her to lower her voice. For the first time that night, he looked genuinely ashamed. Dohan placed a signed ownership transfer on the table. Amina's name now controlled the centerpiece design, campaign rights, and compensation Mina withheld. Beside it, he set down a tablet containing his investigation. "I cannot undo what I decided for you," he said. "I can stop deciding what truth you are permitted to see." Amina looked at the documents without touching them or softening her expression. Trust was not paper, and an apology was not innocence. Still, Dohan had surrendered information powerful men usually killed to keep. Amina picked up the ownership transfer, but did not sign it. She gave Dohan 3 conditions instead. Her name would be restored before the night ended. Lena's career would remain protected until they knew whether she had been forced to cooperate. And every discovery, no matter how dangerous, would come to Amina. Dohan agreed without negotiation. June's expression tightened. Amina noticed. The security chief did not trust her, and he was no longer trying to hide it. June asked to speak with Dohan privately, but Amina refused to leave. So June said it. The attack began only after Dohan chose Amina. The spiral sketch was planted in her bag. Lena vanished after Amina received the recording. Every road led back to her. Dohan listened, then told June suspicion was not evidence. Amina expected relief. Instead, she felt something more dangerous. Dohan had chosen her credibility over the judgment of the man protecting his life. They returned to the garment room under armed escort. The centerpiece gown stood beneath the work lights where Sora had abandoned it. Amina approached slowly. She knew every seam and every place Mina altered her work. Sora remained near the mirrors, furious at being treated like a witness in her own campaign. Mina insisted the spiral was decoration. Amina ran her fingers along the inner waist and felt the first stitch that did not belong to her. The strange stitches repeated at exact intervals. Amina counted them twice and asked for an old floor plan. Dohan watched her arrange the sequence into directions. Left, lower level, west wall, beneath the runway. It was not decoration, it was a map hidden inside the gown. Sora stared at Mina. Mina claimed she knew nothing, but fear crossed her face before the polished expression returned. The discovery changed the room instantly. June brought them to the security control room. His credentials had opened the service exit when Lena disappeared. Mina called it proof that he betrayed Dohan. June surrendered his weapon without protest, but anger burned in his eyes. Dohan ordered him held near the wall while the access logs were checked. For the first time, the man who controlled every room looked uncertain about the person who had protected him for years. Even Dohan hesitated before speaking again. Amina asked where June had been when the exit opened. Dohan answered that June was beside him in the ballroom. The timestamp made betrayal impossible unless the credentials had been copied. Amina leaned over the console and found a metallic gold thread beside the keyboard. It matched Mina's cuff. Mina said she used the room during setup. The explanation was possible. That did not make it convincing. Suspicion slid away from June and settled on her. Dohan released June and ordered a trace of the copied credentials. Mina accused Amina of manipulating the investigation. Amina turned on her. "You stole my work, kept my money, and brought me into a building prepared for an attack. You do not decide who looks suspicious." Sora looked pleased until Amina added that anyone who helped conceal the gown's lining would answer questions too. Sora's satisfaction vanished. Amina's voice carried across the silent room without shaking. While June examined the thread, Amina stepped into the archive corridor with Dohan. The ballroom noise faded behind the steel door, leaving only the building's hum and distant city light. Amina asked about his mother. Dohan said Yuna disappeared 18 years earlier after a collision. The vehicle was destroyed, but no body was identified. Her final message to him contained the same spiral Amina had drawn since childhood. Neither of them looked away from the other. Amina remembered Asha waking her before sunrise that same year. They packed one bag and left without saying goodbye. After that, Asha flinched whenever Amina drew the spiral where strangers could see it. Dohan asked how old she had been. 14. The answer made his face still. He had been 18. Amina asked where he was that night. Dohan looked toward the archive door and said, "Closer than I should have been." The corridor suddenly felt much colder. The answer chilled Amina, but she forced herself to stay still. Dohan admitted he spent 18 years searching for Yuna. He chased false sightings, dead witnesses, and records that vanished hours before he reached them. Amina asked whether he had ever found Asha's name. He said no. That should have reassured her. Instead, it made the timing worse. 2 women vanished from their old lives during the same week, and nobody connected them until now. Amina asked the question she had avoided. "Would you have crossed that room to me if I had nothing to do with your mother?" Dohan's answer took 1 second too long. That second cut deeper than a refusal. He told her choosing her was the first decision he made that night without calculating the result. She wanted to believe him. She also knew men like Dohan survived by calculating everything, especially the things they called instinct. Dohan's choice had become the question in the story. If you are still watching, drop the emoji that best describes what Amina should feel right now. Add your location and the time you are watching. Those watching on television can tap the like button so the channel knows you are there. The next discovery will reveal why someone needs Amina alive, and it will make the stolen gown look less like fashion and more like a key. Amina returned to the garment room and copied the stitch sequence onto a floor plan. The final mark pointed beneath the runway, behind a wall that should have held only support beams. June found a concealed release under a brass rail. When he pressed it, part of the wall moved inward. Dust rolled from a narrow staircase descending into darkness. Mina said she had never seen it. Sora whispered that the original plans belonged to Dohan's mother. Dohan went first, but Amina followed close enough to stop him from closing the door behind her. The chamber smelled of old fabric, dust, and metal. Trunks filled the corners. Photographs covered a table beneath one hanging lamp. Amina saw Asha standing beside Yuna in several images, both women younger, both facing the same spiral embroidered into cloth. Dohan reached for one photograph, then stopped. His hand was shaking. The sight stripped the control from his face. At the room's center sat a locked case marked with the spiral. June tried the mechanism and failed. Dohan tried next. Nothing moved. Amina studied the grooves and remembered a stitching exercise Asha forced her to repeat until her fingers cramped. She traced the pattern in the same order. The lock released with a heavy click. Everyone looked at her differently. The attackers had not kept her alive because she mattered to Dohan. They needed her memory. Inside the case were financial records, photographs, and a video device. Dohan activated it. SEO Yuna appeared on the screen, younger but unmistakable. She warned that both families were hunting evidence capable of destroying their networks. She said Asha must protect the daughter of the pattern until it was safe to bring her home. The recording cut out before she named the daughter. Amina felt the room tilt as everyone looked at her. Amina asked what home meant. No one answered. Dohan said Yuna had never spoken of another daughter, but his certainty sounded forced. June checked the records while Amina searched the photographs. One showed Asha holding Amina's childhood coat. Another showed Yuna wearing Asha's wedding ring on a chain. Amina touched her throat. Somewhere above them, the alarms changed tone. Someone had discovered the chamber was open. Footsteps sounded faintly beyond the sealed wall. The footsteps stopped outside the hidden wall. June killed the chamber lamp and moved toward the entrance. Dohan pulled Amina behind a storage trunk, but she stepped out again immediately. She had spent enough of the night being moved without permission. The wall opened, revealing 2 security officers under June's command. They reported that Sora had asked to speak with Amina alone. Mina had tried to stop her. Dohan had ordered everyone held in place. At that moment, that made Sora's request impossible to ignore. Sora waited in the backstage dressing hall after changing out of the gown. Without the runway lights, she looked less untouchable and far more frightened. She told Amina that Victor Ryu had threatened to destroy her family's businesses and expose debts that would leave her father defenseless. Sora had helped him enter the showcase because she believed he wanted financial records. She had not known Amina was the real objective until Dohan crossed the ballroom and turned hostile eyes toward her. Dohan accused Sora of protecting herself too late. She snapped that men like him always called fear cowardice when the consequences belonged to someone else. Then she revealed that Mina arranged the damage to the centerpiece gown. Mina ordered Lena to summon Amina for emergency repairs and made certain the spiral remained inside the lining. Sora had assumed Mina wanted publicity. Now she understood the damaged gown was the invitation that placed Amina inside the building at the planned moment. Amina asked why Lena would obey Mina after watching her steal the design. Sora's eyes shifted toward the dark passage behind the mirrors. Before the attack, she had seen Lena enter the restricted corridor beside Victor. Lena was walking freely. No one held her arm, and no weapon was visible. Amina rejected the claim immediately. Lena had protected her for years. Sora answered, "Then watch the footage before you decide who protected whom." The line struck where Amina was weakest. June restored part of the deleted security recording in the screening room. The image showed Lena damaging the gown before Amina arrived, cutting a hidden seam with a tailor's blade. Minutes later, she met Victor near the service corridor. She removed her pearl bracelet herself. Victor pressed a bleeding knuckle against one bead, and Lena dropped it beside the door. The evidence of a kidnapping had been built by the woman Amina trusted, down to the blood meant to frighten her. Amina watched Lena walk away beside Victor without looking back. Her mind fought the image with every memory it could find. Lena had shared rent when work disappeared. She had sat beside Asha's hospital bed. She knew which childhood nightmares woke Amina before dawn. That history made the betrayal worse, not easier to deny. Dohan reached toward her, then stopped before touching her. For once, he understood that protection could become another violation if he took this grief from her. June traced the copied credentials to Mina's department and found payments routed through companies controlled by Victor. In the garment vault, Mina stood between Dohan's security officers and the empty centerpiece stand. Amina placed the gold thread beside Mina's embroidered cuff. Mina's composure cracked. She admitted taking Amina's campaign money and selling access to Victor, but insisted Lena answered to someone else. Someone powerful enough to make Victor follow instructions instead of giving them, and patient enough to wait 18 years. Dohan demanded a name. Mina looked toward Amina and said the person behind Lena had been waiting 18 years for the spiral to return. Before she could say more, every light in the vault died. Metal struck the floor. Amina heard someone run past the glass cases. Dohan caught her wrist before she followed the sound. When emergency lights returned, Mina lay unconscious beside the central stand, and the hidden case from beneath the runway was gone. The centerpiece gown had vanished. A rear floor panel stood open, exposing a passage beneath the vault. June found marks where the gown's hanger scraped the metal edge. Sora swore she never knew the tunnel existed. Dohan stared into the opening with recognition he tried to conceal. Amina noticed. He had seen that passage before. When she asked when, he answered there was no time. The refusal sounded like another controlled truth, and she had no patience left for partial answers. A video message reached Amina's phone. Lena appeared unharmed inside a theater, with the stolen gown hanging behind her. She told Amina to enter the service tunnel alone if she wanted the truth about Asha. If Dohan followed, the records connecting their families would be destroyed. Lena did not apologize. She only said the night had been designed to bring Amina to the place Asha once tried to reach before she died, and nobody else could finish the journey for her. Dohan took the phone and ordered the tunnel sealed. Amina demanded it back. He refused to let her walk into a trap built by Victor and a friend who had deceived her. Amina asked whether he intended to lock her upstairs while Lena disappeared. Dohan said he would rather have Amina hate him than trust him on her way to death. The answer carried feeling, but it was another decision made over her head, wrapped in devotion and delivered like an order. Amina pretended to surrender. She handed June the spiral floor plan and asked him to compare the tunnel with theater records. While the men argued over entry points, she studied the map reflected in the glass cabinet. One branch bypassed the vault opening and began behind the preparation room's fabric shelves. Asha's stitching exercise had not only opened the archive, it had preserved a route through the complex that Dohan's modern security had forgotten because it was older than the systems he trusted. Sora found Amina near the preparation room and understood what she was planning. Instead of calling Dohan, she moved aside. Amina asked why. Sora said Dohan's protection had already destroyed one woman's choices that night, and she would not help him do it again. She gave Amina a small flashlight and warned that Victor never stood where danger could reach him. If he appeared calm, someone more dangerous was always waiting behind him, already certain the room belonged to them completely. Amina opened the concealed maintenance door and entered the underground tunnel alone. The air smelled of concrete, dust, and rain. She followed the spiral sequence through 2 branches, counting turns the way Asha taught her to count stitches. Behind her, the door began to close. Amina recorded a message for Dohan. She told him she would not trade one captor for another because his cage was called protection, or mistake fear of losing her for the right to own her choices. She locked the steel barrier from the tunnel side and kept moving. The flashlight shook once in her hand. Above her, alarms changed again as Dohan discovered she was gone. Amina reached the first split and found an old rust-colored thread tied around the correct pipe, Asha's color. The sight stopped her for half a second. Someone had maintained this route long after the crash, expecting Amina to return and remember what the thread meant when every other sign had disappeared. Dohan reached the barrier seconds later and struck the metal with his palm. June found another entrance on the plans, but it opened near the theater and would take longer. Dohan ordered June to secure the complex while he followed alone. June warned that Victor wanted that. Dohan looked into the tunnel and answered, "Victor is not the person she is about to meet." Then he disappeared through the alternate passage before June could ask whose shadow he had recognized. The tunnel opened behind the last row of an abandoned theater. Amina stepped into darkness and saw the stolen centerpiece gown hanging beneath a single spotlight. Dust floated around it like ash. Every velvet seat was empty, yet she could feel people watching from somewhere beyond the stage. The rust-colored thread continued down the aisle. Amina followed it with the flashlight raised until a familiar voice came through the darkness. "You were always stubborn enough to reach the end alone." The voice belonged to Lena. Lena stepped into the spotlight, unharmed. Victor Ryu emerged beside her in a black velvet jacket, relaxed enough to make Amina's fear turn sharp. No restraints held Lena, no bruise marked her face. The pearl bracelet rested around her wrist again, cleaned of the blood she had planted. Amina stopped below the stage. "You made me think they hurt you." Lena's expression broke, but she did not look away. "I needed you to come here without Dohan deciding for you again tonight in this place." Lena admitted she damaged the gown, staged the kidnapping, and guided Victor through the service corridor. Years earlier, Asha had made her promise that when the spiral returned, she would bring Amina to this theater. Lena had waited until the pattern appeared inside Dohan's campaign. She believed he would hide Amina again if she asked permission. Amina's voice shook with fury. "You protected my choice by lying to me?" Lena answered, "No. I protected the road Asha died trying to finish for you all alone." Victor told Amina he had supplied the tunnel, disabled the cameras, and pressured Sora, but the plan was never his. He wanted the archive because its records could destroy the Kang leadership and release his family from decades of submission. Lena had offered him access in exchange for safe passage. Amina asked who gave Lena the instructions. Victor glanced toward the hanging gown. "Someone Dohan buried before he understood what burial meant," a woman's voice answered from behind the fabric. "He buried nothing. I disappeared." A steel door slammed open behind Amina. Dohan entered with his weapon raised, shirt sleeves marked by dust from the tunnel, and his bandaged arm held rigid. He ordered Victor away from Amina and told Lena to step down from the stage. Neither moved. Amina turned on him instead. How did you know where this tunnel ended? Dohan looked past her toward the hanging gown. The answer seemed to cost him. Because I came through it before, 18 years ago, on the night Asha died. Amina could not move. Dohan had been 18, the same age he was when his mother vanished, and Asha fled with her. She asked what he had done inside the tunnel that night. Dohan lowered his weapon slightly, but his eyes stayed fixed on the curtain behind the gown. I followed men I should have stopped sooner. Before Amina could ask which men, the hidden woman spoke again. Tell her the whole truth, Dohan. You did not arrive after the danger. You arrived with it. The champagne gown moved as a woman stepped from behind it. Silver streaked her black hair, but Dohan recognized her before the spotlight reached her face. His weapon lowered completely. For the first time that night, fear emptied every trace of command from him. Mother. The word came out rough and almost childlike. Seo Yuna stood alive on the stage where her death had shaped 18 years of his life. She looked at her son only briefly. Then she walked directly toward Amina without hesitation. Dohan asked where she had been, why she let him believe she was dead, and how long Lena had worked for her. Yuna ignored every question. Her gaze remained on Amina's face, searching it with painful recognition. Dohan stepped between them. Yuna told him to move. He did, not because the command was forceful, but because it came from the voice he had mourned since boyhood. Amina saw the feared Mafia Boss reduced to a son who had never received an ending for his grief. Yuna stopped an arm's length from Amina and called her Mina Bird, the private childhood name Asha used whenever thunder frightened her. Amina's knees nearly weakened. She had never told Lena that name. She had never written it down. How do you know that? Yuna's expression softened with grief. Because I was there when Asha gave it to you. Amina searched Yuna's face for resemblance, memory, anything familiar. What she found was recognition flowing only in one direction, from Yuna to her across all those years. Yuna reached beneath the neckline of her oxblood gown and removed a chain. A gold wedding ring hung from it. She placed the ring in Amina's open palm. Amina recognized the tiny scratch across its edge and the worn inner curve that Asha used to rub while thinking. The theater vanished around her. She remembered that ring tapping against kitchen cups, sewing scissors, and her forehead whenever Asha kissed her goodnight. She gave this to you? Amina whispered. Yuna answered, before the crash that night. Yuna said Asha had taken financial records proving how the Kang and Ryu organizations moved money through the fashion empire. The records could imprison men who believed themselves untouchable. When the Kang leadership discovered the theft, Asha fled with Amina and the archive key hidden inside the spiral. Yuna tried to help them escape. Instead, she learned that Amina had become the final lock protecting the evidence. To keep her alive, Yuna erased herself and let both families believe the crash had killed her too. Amina asked who caused the crash. Yuna looked toward Dohan before answering. The Kang elders ordered Asha's car stopped before she reached the coast. Their men forced her from the road near the theater access tunnel. Yuna had been following from another route when the collision happened. By the time she reached the wreck, flames had already taken the front of the car. Asha was trapped. Amina had been thrown clear through a broken rear door, alive but unconscious beside the road in the rain. Amina turned to Dohan expecting the same horror she felt. What she saw was guilt. He could not meet her eyes. Yuna said Dohan learned the Kang family ordered the interception years ago, yet he never told Amina. He had spent months watching her from a distance while keeping the truth buried. Dohan insisted he was trying to identify everyone responsible before exposing her. Amina tightened her fingers around Asha's ring. You knew why she died, and you still decided what I could survive knowing. Dohan said the crash was not as simple as Yuna believed. He had been 18, following the men who left the Kang estate after overhearing the order. He found the tunnel because he used it to reach the road before them. Lena stepped forward and cut across his explanation. There were 2 cars behind Asha. One carried the men sent to stop her. The second belonged to Dohan. Amina looked from Lena to him. Dohan did not deny driving it on that storm-dark road alone. The headlights returned to Amina in fragments. Rain on glass. Asha shouting, "Stay down." One car striking them, another stopping behind. A young man pulling at the rear door while fire climbed across the hood. She had never remembered his face, only blood on his sleeve and terror in his voice. Amina looked at Dohan. Were you following the men who killed her, or were you one of them? Dohan looked at Asha's ring in her palm. I was the reason she never made it out of that car alive. Comment Part 2. If Dohan must tell Amina what he did inside that burning car,